Karnak Temple in Luxor. It's from around 2000 something BC.
And we have this building was built, the oldest construction goes back to 2500 BC.
2500 BC.
The wall just in front of us, that goes back to almost 500 BC. We have like 2000 years construction within construction. The whole thing is dedicated to an ancient Egyptian god. His name is Amon, A-M-O-N. That's why we have many kings in ancient Egypt have the syllable of Amon in their name. Like that the ancient Egyptian had a road between the Karnak and the Luxor Temple to celebrate it. And then the ancient Egyptian crossed the Nile to go in the west. And in the west we have a lot of things. We have the King's Valley, where we have the tombs of the king. Have enough time to make him a proper tomb in this place, so they made it here. And we have the village of the workers who actually created the tombs in the King's Valley and the Queen's Valley. So the people who made the art we're gonna to see in King's and Queen's Valley, they used to live in this village. And we have what we call commemorial temple. What is commemorial temple? Commemorial temple is I am a king and I died and they made my tomb in the King's Valley, where nobody can hear, nobody can see, so people are going to forget about me. I don't want this. So I build a commemorial temple who talks about his fight with the Libyans to actually protect the western side of Egypt against the Libyans and the first what we call people of the sea. We have the temple of Ramses II, where we discover the most important gynecologist roll of papyrus in history. We have the temple of Habu, where again Ramses III is talking about his fight with the Libyan guys, and we have other places as well in between. So this collection of antiquities is literally 25% of antiquities all over the world. Okay, now we are standing in front of the Karnak Temple, and we are gonna to cross a little bridge to go inside the Karnak. Why we have this bridge? Because all the land we just walked through, that used to be a lake. You can actually take this show you the big scale between the size of the human and the second classic photo you can actually get away from the to the ancient Egyptian language. Ancient Egyptian language is a mix between two things. What we call logogram, which is like Nike. You see the sign of Nike, so that is, you see it and you see that's Nike. There is no N, there is no I, there is no K, but that's Nike. So when you see this sign, and remember this sign, and don't forget this sign, we pronounce it Ankh, A-N-K. It means life, or alive. And this is a falcon, we call him Horus. So alive, the god Horus. The strong wild animal oxen, the man who has a strong arm. This sign means beloved, it's called Mary. So he's talking about the titles of the king. So they consider the king like a divinity. So alive, the divinity, the strong Toro, the one who loved by the God of justice, and the one who loved by the people of the north and the people of the south. And keep telling on and on and on until he mentioned the name of the king here. So now the king has two names. One name is my first name. My first name is Michael. And I have my crown name. So this is the reed of papyrus. We call it Nisu, means the king of the north. And the B is the king of the south. The lord of the two lands, the Nile Valley and the desert. And this is the name of the king. That is his crown name. And this is his person. So this is a dedication for one of the kings, and he is doing the dedication to say, I built that section in the temple in order to honor my beloved God, and he mentioned the name of his God here, so I honor my beloved God, the God Amon. So that's what they call it.
So this is the great gate of the Temple Karnak. We're walking through it now.
I asked it many times when this was built, and I always can't answer this question simply because I tell you this is temples within temples. What do I mean by temples within temples? A king like Ramses II come to rule Egypt in 1000 BC. But he doesn't like what his great-grandfather other than Ramses II. So in a different word, we understand now Ramses II came to this temple. He didn't like Tutankhamun, so he put the stuff of Tutankhamun under the sand and he put his own stuff in here. Now later on, another king came after Ramses and he decided to change a little bit. So he took all those statues you see here, they were under the sand, and we discovered them in 1963. Put them above each other and then shaved them. That's
column is unshaved and it's not finished. All the others are shaven and fixed.
That's how the ancient Egyptian did it. They just put it. Here, this Sal has like 4 columns and it had the roof, and this roof is the original roof of the ancient Egyptian time, and this building goes back to 1100 BC, so it is 3000 years old, and we still have the roof on. So this is like
100 feet tall.
Okay, 1920, 1963, we have an earthquake. What we call the new angle of crown. Just to visualize for you how big this crown is. I want to go from here. And it is 190 tons and it's 70 feet to the ground. So this one here. It has a base and it's made out of granite. Granite comes from Aswan, that's 200 miles south of Luxor. This means there was a ship carrying this obelisk from Aswan to here, and they put it up like this. And this is the obelisk of a king called Tutmosis. And this is the king called Tutmosis III, which is this guy. And Tutmosis III, he was an active pharaoh who decided to invade all 150 BC. He went out of Egypt and he took all the land up to Golan Heights and a little bit north. And in Golan Heights, you do your calendar for the year. So you say New Year Eve, I want to have a lot of wine in my house. And then Christmas time, I need to have a lot of chocolate. And then this time is season for the school. They need to have shoes and whatever clothes. So this is the occasions. So that's the like Christmas time or whatever. And this is the amount of offering you have. And this is how you measure this offering. So you measure them by kilos. And this is the sign of measuring it by kilos. Yeah? And those are the numbers. So this is number 2. This is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's number 6. Looks like Greek numbers. And this upside down U is number 10. Catch it? Yeah. And this is this sign, which looks like 2 flags comes out of a jar with a hand. That means total.
That means what?
Total.
The total.
It's a spreadsheet.
Oh.
So let's take this line here, okay? In the first occasion, I have nothing I need from this thing. Second occasion, I need 3 kilos.
This is in the Karnak Temple. So these are the sphinxes. The heads were chopped off by the Romans so that they could use it as catapults. So we're now at the Luxor Temple in Luxor. In ancient Egypt, it was called Thebes, and it was the capital for all the ancient pharaohs.
And then another 4 months is completely dry. So if you imagine I'm an ancient Egyptian now, and 31 of December, this is really amazing. The importance
He's
of
showing
this
how
Sphinx
straight
avenue
these
is
sphinxes
actually 2
are.
points. Number 1, we normally said that the Romans are the first people who made the pavement of the road. The ancient Egyptian did do pavement, so this rocks on the floor, that's an ancient Egyptian rocks, which goes back to 15 Karnak Temple. So we found that the road doesn't go up and down, it is flat. Ramses is making a couple of statues for him sitting on a chair. and each of those statues is about 48, 49 tons. Sorry, 87, 88 tons. And we had two obelisks. The king of Egypt at the time, called Muhammad Ali, he actually gave the French the right to take one of those obelisks. So Muhammad Ali, he was very keen to make the Europeans happy, because he is gonna have to fight the Ottomans. So he didn't want to fight the Ottoman and the Europeans at the same time. So he gave مساء الخير ازيك عامله ايه منوره الدنيا اخبارك.
So was that in France?
Yeah, he gave it to the French and gave it to the British and obelisk and the Americans.
This is still inside the Luxor Temple. Ramses II was
So
the
now
king.
we are watching a very important thing, which is how the ancient out of the forehead, and this cobra is for protection. Now the ancient Egyptian, they always see the good and the bad in every creation. So if you are traveling to Egypt and your alarm is not working, you can't leave your house unprotected. But if you leave a note at the door of your house and say, we left this house because we found 20 cobras.
These columns are 100 feet tall. I am now inside the sanctuary area of the Luxor Temple. And these columns are reeds, papyrus reeds, tied together for strength, but they're just in that shape, very symbolic. So which balloon are you in? Lots of balloons out there overlooking the Luxor Valley. And those are the mountains. I think the Valley of the Kings is back there. Here's a modern balloon, and there's the modern riverboat. This is the Winter Palace.
Doing something.
Well, there's two people, one's rowing, and one he's fishing. He's a fisherman. He has to have good balance.
That's what I asked about.
So this is our sun deck of the Viking Aton. This must be part of Luxor Temple. So it turns out that stealth boat was really a boat turned on its side, and it's been there for a long time. Maybe a stealth boat. But this one, Hawaii Restaurant and Cafe, in the middle of Luxor. So here's the big Dendera. It's a big temple from about 3,000 years ago.
Okay, so Mr. Ancient Egyptian makes a temple. So how he does the temple, he makes a gate. So we are standing just in front of the gate. The gate is made out of stone.
And this is the temple for the female priests. They take care of the children for the first 7 days. This is the Christian church that they built in 200 AD.
This church is important. Why? Because it's 2nd century AD. We know that all the churches before 300 AD being destroyed by Roman emperor called Vespasianus.
So this mud brick structure was an asylum for mentally handicapped people, and they would teach them to dance like the whirling dervishes.
He can have some flashing in order to tell them about what's wrong with his life. So the ruins of the mud brick here, this is one of them, is the incantations nearby.
So these are ruins of the mud bricks. So the ceilings are still here after over 2,000 years ago.
have the roofs.
So whenever we debate about how the church should be constructed, this example comes.
So this is the earliest, this is the temple goddess or Hathor.
This roof is 2,000 years old and it still exists in such a fantastic condition. The colors, we had to clean it up, so the colors was covered by smoke because people lived here and they smoked it up. And when Mark Antony speaking Cleopatra, he thought this is the temple of Cleopatra, so he chiseled most of the figures. So most of the figures here have been damaged and chiseled. That's by seeing the Cleopatra. So he felt everything is there. But what you see here, king makes offering for something,
these are the
breastfeeding a child.
goddess
so that's
Hathor.
again the goddess Hathor. So the goddess Hathor has few symbols in the ancient Egyptian art. Number one, a cow. Wow. Now, to understand the ancient Egyptian religion, ancient Egyptian believed that there is an energy which allowed me to do the good things and extremely good things. And that's why they respect the universe and the cosmos. So they were very much fascinated by the sky and the stars and the moon and the sun, like any other primitive civilization.
Oh, okay.
Now, Mr. Ancient Egyptian think that the moon is a heavenly creation that helped me to see through the darkness, and actually knows like he has this ability to generate life from his own life. So they take him as a symbolizing of beating.
This is the way the blocks were, and then they had to clean up all that smoke.
And
homeless.
And you can't fix it.
No, we just lift this to show.
These are all the
how
zodiac
long-
signs,
I see, but you left it there and
Yeah, but then now you can
because
see
the
how
ancient
beautiful
Egyptians knew about the 12 zodiac signs
color is.
from the constellations.
Turns out that all the constellations
Exactly at the same level of the columns of the labels. And then we go to the second sun of columns, which we are here, and we found that only okay. Why do I like this room? Because it is intact. So it is fantastic. I would like to stand here and tell you if you make a line in the middle like this, size, it looks much like a mirror. And you have reflection, and the best thing to see is the right. You ask us, ancient Egyptian goes right left or left right, until you look at the end of the bird. He's looking this way, you go opposite. So I read from left to right here, and I read from right to left here. And this sign looks like a mirror at the middle. Now we have a king making offering to Isis. This girl is Isis. When you see the sign on her head, that's Isis. This girl, you don't see the sign, so she is happy. And her name is written, looks like square, and having a falcon head. That's how her name is written. Who is the king? I don't know. Why? Because we have the frame, which we call it cartouche, but the ancient is exactly the same level. So they carved it to make you believe this is higher than that, but that's an optical illusion.
Is this a male female?
Those are the ancient Egyptian stairs.
So that's how the ancient Egyptian did those stairs. The oldest stairs we have
We
out
just
of
walked
this
up to the
style
roof.
goes back to 2000 BC.
This is the water spout from the roof. So the roof is tilted.
On that, not a zodiac. When our French friends came to Egypt and they discovered it, they decided to take it to the Louvre Museum. So they covered it by plastic, and they shipped the whole thing, covered it by plastic, and they took it to the Louvre. So that's stolen. They didn't buy it, and they made a beautiful copy for us. So we are watching the copy. So this is the copy. So what we are watching here, it's hard to see.
There's a fish right there.
Yeah, we look at this lake, this is the earth. This circle was an eye, this is the moon. And this circle, the big one, is the sun. So what we have here, we have the moon come between the earth and the sun. What you call this?
Eclipse.
Thank you very much. So the ancient Egyptian is presenting a total eclipse happening here. This is east, this is west. This is south, this is north. So the ancient Egyptian is telling us that the sun was not in the east, it was in the west. And this is the midday light, okay? And the eclipse happens in the afternoon time when the sun was in the southwest corner next to the fish sign constellations. When is the position of the sun come next to the fish sign constellation? It's in February and March. And it's not happening in the morning time, otherwise we'll put the sun here. It's happening in the afternoon time. So we go to the United States of America. There is a nice scientist in NASA who was very much interested in archaeology. So we asked her to study the astronomical of ancient Egypt and tell us if there was any eclipse happened in this area. She does it.
So this is the ancient Egyptian staircase that goes around the temple from the inside all the way up to the roof, and then we're coming down from the roof. These figures were damaged by Octavius because he was fighting Caesar and Cleopatra, and then when he got to Dendera, he wanted to destroy everything that had to do with Cleopatra.
لأن هو في بداية الخليقة كانت نون إله السماء وكير.
So now we're inside the Mima Nativity Church, and this was where the mothers would go, have the babies, and the high priestess women would take care of the babies for 7 days. This is already when the Greeks came and took over.